Release clauses can be a pain at times, but we can use them to our advantage. So I've compiled a list of the top 10 players with release clauses. I've tried to make these affordable and combine price with ability, otherwise we'd have a list of players with ridiculous release clauses. Now, before we get started on the top 10 list, I do have some honourable mentions. The first is Mikel Oyarzabal. He's a natural left winger but can play all across your front line, a very well-rounded attacking player. You can sign him for his minimum fee release clause of £65 million. The next is Pau Torres. He's a natural left-footed centre-back. They're hard to come by these days, but if you're happy to spend the money, Pau Torres would be a great fit. He's got good attributes in terms of heading, marking and tackling, also has really good physicals. You can sign him for his minimum fee release clause of £52 million. Next is Christopher Nkunku. Chelsea looks set to activate his release clause in real life. Nkunku is a valuable asset to any squad. Extremely versatile and can play all across the midfield. He's got the lot: technicals, mentals and physicals. And just like Pau Torres, you can sign him for his minimum fee release clause of £52 million. The next man is Gonçalo Inácio. He has some high potential. He's a very well-rounded player with plenty of room to grow. You can sign him for his minimum fee release clause of £39 million. Again, similar to Inácio, there's some high potential for Firmino. 16 jumping reach, 14 heading, some nice finishing, composure and concentration. Not bad for his minimum fee release clause of £20 million. If you think I've missed any players, do let me know them in the comments and let me know how much their release clause is. Alright, into the top 10 list of players with release clauses. Something you can do for me though that is completely free, it won't cost you anything, is subscribe to the channel. We start our list at number 10 with Mikel Merino. The Spanish central midfielder is very versatile with a number of roles he can perform to a very high standard. He can be a really valuable complementary player next to someone who either excels in defending or attacking. He can also be a solid option himself when asked to defend, however with some very good passing and vision, he can be a threat in the attacking third of the pitch. I personally think he's much better going forward. He's also very reliable with good attributes for teamwork, work rate and determination, and can also give you some good balance in your midfield being naturally left-footed. He has a minimum fee release clause of £39 million and I think that is fantastic value for money. At number 9 we have Pedro Porro. He's only just joined Sporting this summer, so you may have to wait at least a season if you'd like to sign him. He's not the best defensively, however that wouldn't be why I'd be buying him. If you decide to go for him, you'd be getting a very good attacking wingback who's natural in both the fullback and wingback positions. With defenders needing to be more influential in attack, Pedro Porro fits the mould perfectly. He's got some really good standout attributes such as dribbling, determination, flair, acceleration, agility and speed, so if you wanted to, you could easily retrain him to be a natural right winger. He's not the perfect defender, but if you're a team that can dominate games, he's a great fit. Like Merino, he too has a minimum fee release clause of £39 million. Now, there's been a lot of talk about how good William Saliba is recently, but at number 8 is another French central defender that has a high ceiling in Maxence Lacroix. Maxence Lacroix. I hope I've said that correctly. Now, immediately there's things I like about him. First of all, he's got a perfectionist personality and also has 17 determination. Given he's just 22 years old, these two things are definitely going to help him progress to be a much better player. He also has some other great physical attributes, most notably his acceleration, natural fitness and pace. He's got good heading, marking and tackling, as well as the necessary attributes for being a ball-playing defender. His mentals aren't quite there yet with lots of 12s and 13s, but give him time, give him a few years, I'm positive he'll develop into a world-class centre-back, and he can be yours if you meet his minimum fee release clause of £34.5 million. The next man on the list at number 7 is Portuguese striker Vitinha. As a nation, Portugal seem to always have some incredible young talent coming through, and Vitinha is certainly one of them. He's already got the ability and the attributes to lead the line and score goals, or could be a very reliable second choice. He's also got no player traits, so there's some immediate upgrades you can make to his playstyle. I personally think he'd excel as a pressing forward or an advanced forward, and at just 22 years old, he's going to get even better. He has only just signed a new contract with Braga, so you may have to wait just a little bit for him to be interested in joining you. That is providing you can pay his minimum fee release clause of £26 million. At number 6, we're moving from youth to experience with Jonathan Viera. Now, he's considered a star player for Las Palmas, and looking at his attributes, you can see why. If you were to sign a Spanish midfielder, you'd be getting someone who would immediately improve your attack. In terms of his technicals, he's got everything you'd want to be effective in the final third. He's good at taking set pieces, he can cross a ball well, a great dribbler, he can chip in with goals here and there, and he can be relied upon to unlock defences when you combine his passing with his vision. Now bear in mind Viera is 32 years old, so if you do sign him, he may only have a few seasons left at the top level. It might be hard to prize him away from Las Palmas as well, as he does have a preference to play for the club. If you can convince him to join you, you'd have to pay his minimum fee release clause of £26 million. Before we move into the top 5, let's have a look at the bonus player on the list, Yeremy Pino. The Wonder Kid has already been capped for Spain and has had 2 productive seasons in Villarreal's first team. He's natural on both the left and the right wing. He's got a really well-rounded set of attributes, with the most notable being his dribbling and his flair, and at just 19 years old, he has got plenty of room to improve. Pino is the most expensive player on this list, and if you want him, you'll have to pay his minimum fee release clause of £69 million. Our first player in the top 5 is Keane Lewis Potter. He's only just joined Brentford, so it might take at least a season before you can sign him. However, if and when you do, you'll be getting a young Englishman who's natural across all 3 attacking midfield positions. He's got a really good base of attributes to start with, including 17 determination, and with time on his side at just 21 years old, there's no doubt he'll improve over the coming years. Lewis Potter is definitely a player to keep your eye on. However, his release clause is slightly out of your hands, as it's dependent on Brentford going down. However, if they do, you can activate his relegation release clause of £25 million. At number 4, we have Jarrod Bowen. I know, Jarrod Bowen, ridiculous. How? He's very similar to Lewis Potter in the positions he can play, a natural all across the attacking midfield line. However, he is just a better and more experienced player. The England international is one of West Ham's key players, and you can definitely see why. His physicals are really good for a winger. There's lots of 15s in there. He's got some fantastic mentals, most notably his determination, off the ball and work rate. And he's got a really well-rounded set of technicals as well. I'd be comfortable playing him on either wing as a winger, inverted winger, or an inside forward. You can also play him in behind the striker, probably as an attacking midfielder or an advanced playmaker. Given how good Bowen is, I think he'd be one of the hardest players to sign on this list. I'd expect some of the better clubs in Europe will want him as well. Again, similar to Potter, getting your hands on Bowen is dependent on West Ham going down. If they do, he has a relegation release clause of just £20 million. So if West Ham go down, I mean, that is a no-brainer. £20 million for Jarrod Bowen. At number 3, in my opinion, we have the best technical player on this list, and I can't believe he's here. It's Paulo Dybala. The Argentine has just joined Roma this summer on a free transfer, so like some other players on this list, you might have to be a little bit patient before you sign him. However, if you are able to sign him, you'll be getting an incredibly talented attacking player who's natural as both an attacking midfielder and a striker. I mean, look how good his set of attributes are. His technicals are the standout for me, with barely any weaknesses in his attacking game. Personally, I'd be playing him either as an attacking midfielder or as a striker, perhaps as a false 9, so he can drop off a little bit and use his creativity to make things happen for teammates in and around him. I also think Dybala represents the best value for money on this list, and you can sign him for his minimum fee release clause of just £17.25 million. 17 million, that is ridiculous for a player of this quality. 17 million. At number 2, our penultimate player on the list is Renato Tapia. Looking at his attributes, you might not think there's that much that necessarily stands out, although I do think he has some very good attributes for a defensive midfielder. He's not going to be scoring many goals or offering much in terms of creativity in the final third of the pitch, but if you're looking for an industrial midfielder, someone who does the hard work and then can distribute to some of your more creative players, look no further than Tapia. He also has a preference to play in the Premier League, so if you are managing there, he's probably going to be more interested in joining you. His contract is up at Vigo in 2 years, so there is potential you could get him for cheaper, but to guarantee your bid will be accepted, you'll have to beat his minimum fee release clause of £14.25 million. That brings us to our final player on the list. At number 1, Williot Swedberg. The Swede is only 18 years old and is probably the most versatile player on this list, being able to play pretty much anywhere in the top half of the pitch. Vigo have just signed him for £4.5 million, so they clearly see potential in him, and considering his personality is model citizen, there's definitely potential for him to drastically improve. I feel like he's good at lots of things, lots of roles, and combined with him being able to play in so many positions, I'd have a problem with where I'd play him or what role I'd play him in. Like, what would I focus in if I wanted to develop him in one certain position or with one certain role? Luckily, that's not my problem. That's your problem if you decide to sign him. And he is the cheapest player on this list. You can sign him for his minimum fee release clause of just £9.25 million. So there we are, a list of players who have release clauses in their contracts. Hopefully this has helped, and let me know in the comments if you've been able to sign any of these players. God, if any of you have signed Bowen or Dybala, I mean, sensational stuff.